Ladies and gentlemen, lend me your ears and your eyes. Diva Divine Light, live from Brooklyn, New York.
Know the lane for what you saying, yo. I'm sitting with my 9 million with the dilly, yo. When I be on the mic, yes, I do my duty, yo. While up in the club, I be while in the studio. You don't wanna violate, nigga, really and truly, yo. My main thug, nigga named Julio, he moody, yo. Like a nigga that'll slap you with the toolie, yo. Bitch, nigga scared to death, act fruity, yo. Fuck that, nigga, shorty, she a little cutie, yo. The way you shake it, nigga, wanna get all in the booty, yo. With no delaying for what you saying, yo.
Diva Divine Light.
Really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Good more than kids with my eyes to see. Strong $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Good more than kids with my eyes to see. Strong $1 in the place to be. If you.
You're watching Diva, the Divine Light. A fun-loving, caring, passionate person who talks about sex, celebrity, and real-life issues, and even abuse. So hit that like button and make sure you share the show.
Really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Good more than kids with my eyes to see. Strong $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Good more than kids with my eyes to see. Strong $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Good more than kids with my eyes to see. Strong $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Good more than kids with my eyes to see. Strong $1 in the place to be. If you.
Here comes the pitch, and it comes in wide. On the combo.
Yo. Good morning, guys. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How's everybody doing? God bless everybody today. Hope everybody's doing good. It is May 3rd, 2023, 10:37 a.m. And your girl Diva is live. And I'm hype. I'm ready to do this, Brutus. We I before we start, I wanted to shout out my boy, his lordship. He did a beautiful job for me doing my new outro. So I wanted to just do a quick little intro to my outro. All right. And guys, tell me what you think of my outro. All right. Here we go.
You are watching Diva Divine Light.
You can fuck with me if these is red bottoms, these is bloody shoes. Hit the scoop, I can get them both. I don't want to choose, and I'm quick. Cut every nigga off, so don't get comfortable. Look, I don't dance now, I make money move. Now I gotta dance, I make money move. If I see you now, that means I don't fuck with you. I'm a boss, you a worker, bitch. I make bloody move. Now she say, gon' do what a hoop. Let's find out if you Cardi B. You know where I'm at, you know where I be. It's a party, I'm there, I can play. I be in and out the bank so much, I know they tired of me. Honest.
So, guys, what do you think of my new outro? My boy, his lordship, did a great job, guys. I love it. What do you guys think of it? What do you guys think? Tell me if you like the new outro. Put a 1 in the chat. All right. In the meantime, I'm going to shout everybody out. Let's see who's in the building. So, did you like my outro, guys? Nobody's paying attention to me. Oh, you love it? I love it too. Good morning, K-Love. Good morning, Cherie. How are you, honey? His wifey, what's up, mama? Good morning, ladies. Good morning, first ladies in the building. Bev Davis, what's up, mama love? How are you? I know a lot of you guys are in the background in the bushes doing your thing, walking on the bus, the train, the car, whatever y'all doing. Missy, what's up, mama? Whatever you guys are doing this morning, working, whatever it may be. Hey, Shorty Rara, what's up, mama? How are you? Good morning. Good morning, ladies. Truth Strong Warrior. What's up, sis? How are you? Good morning, my love. Good morning, ladies. Good morning to everyone. Good morning, Queen. How are you, sweetheart? Good morning. Good morning, Vietnam. So, are you guys ready? Are you guys ready for the man behind the man? I broke down the rest of the fucking book. This book was really long. It's like 497 pages or something like that. And the last time I did read the book, if you guys are interested, you can go into my playlist in my on my channel there. It should say a playlist. You go to the playlist and it should be Diva's Book Club. That's the playlist where I have all my books in there, where I've read some books. Also, I attached some books where other people read as well. We read The Man Behind the Man up to chapter 6. So I did read chapters 1 through 6. I did not feel like reading the whole thing because a lot of it, it does have to do with him and his personal life, Demetrius Smith. This book was written by Demetrius Smith, the man behind the man. And guys, by the way, do you like my my cover? My book cover? Listen, this shit took me quite a few days to put together, okay? Okay, yes, it did. It was a lot of work, guys. A lot of work. A lot of work. I had to read the whole damn book from chapter 7 on and break things down. And I still think there's some things missing, but if you want, you can read the book yourself. I did post the link in the description box to the video, and you can purchase the video, the book yourself. Support, you know, another creator, content creator, a book writer, Demetrius Smith, who decided to come out in 2011 with his story of the man behind the man. We all know that he was his manager and his personal assistant and his friend. And we all know that in the first chapters 1 through 6, Demetrius Smith speaks about the beginnings of R. Kelly and where he came from and how he met him and how he tried to help him bring him to stardom. And in a way, he also told us that he kind of groomed R. Kelly a little bit when it came to having, like, you know, a big head and with the ladies and things of this nature, right? He also spoke about his sister, who was married to a basketball player, who also helped out R. Kelly's career a little bit, giving him money, and then R. Kelly got this money and he said he was going to pay back the money. He never paid back the money. He spoke about how R. Kelly was a narcissist and how R. Kelly was messing around with his sister. And he spoke of that scenario and that situation, as well as him going to jail and having a crack addiction and things of this nature, and how he's wanted to he actually wanted to be in the entertainment business himself but never made it, so he figured he's seen R. Kelly and he could help bring him in as being his manager and friend and things of this nature. It didn't go too well. It didn't go too well. It didn't go too well. It didn't go too well, guys. No. Oh, you guys love it. Thank you, guys. Okay, so Cat, what's up, ladies? Good morning. Welcome in the building. Y'all just walked up in the building. Nexie, what's up, my love? ¿Cómo está, beautiful lady? What's up, beautiful lady? What's up? What's up? What's up, my beautiful ladies in the building? Did R. Kelly get that ass beat? Okay, well, we still haven't had an actual confirmation, but let's just assume right now this is rumor, and Larry spoke about it last night, and Sharon Winbush decided to show that she was not able to get in contact with R. Kelly through his email. They said that the email, was temporary, like down or whatever. So that leads to a conclusion to where there could be a lockdown in the prison. Okay. And therefore, R. Kelly doesn't have access to his email. So it could be a lockdown because of things, who knows, things that happened inside. It could have been because R. Kelly did get assaulted in there and he was attacked inside. It could be something else that happened there. Just because he's in a medium facility doesn't mean anything, because at the end of the day, he's still in what we call prison, right? And in prison, shit happens all the time. Doesn't matter where you at. And if you're a man like R. Kelly who thinks I'm a star and you got to respect me and blah, 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 and this, that, and that, or who knows the fake shit he's doing in there, you know what I mean? Because he's always fake with his emotions all over the place. He's very fake. So we've learned that, right? Right? He's just fake. So we don't know. But, Kat, I think it might be a true story. This is just my opinion. I think it might be a true story based on the fact that Sharon Winbush was not able to reach the email system, and they gave her a note saying, hello, no, sorry, this is temporary, out of order right now. Yep, we're on hold right now. Right. So that's just what I think. Yeah, no. Who knows? Who knows? If anybody else has any confirmation as to, yeah, you know what I mean? If you find or hear anything, guys, you can send me a tip. Everybody knows my information. If you don't know my information, you could go into the about section of the channel and you'll have my information there, my email, my phone. You can text me, you can email me, and let me know, all right, if you guys find out before I do. Okay? Lady Vanya, ¿cómo estás, Miss Exotic Candles? How are you, sweetheart? Jacqueline. What's up, Jackie? Hi, Mama. Good morning. Right, the star shit has gone out the window for R. Kelly, and that's definitely on period. Right. Yes, guys, please don't forget to hit that like button on your way in. If you can, step out the chat for a second, hit the like, and come back in. All right, do me that favor so you don't forget, okay? Amos, ¿cómo estás, mi amor? How you doing, bro? How you doing? I need a man. What did she say? Oh, I read a man died in there, but they didn't let his family know. Is that what happened? Is that what happened? Is that something that just happened a couple of days ago or something, Mama? Cat? Is that what it is? If it is, send me that article. I want to read it, okay? Send me that information if you can, Cat. All right, so guys, do you guys like my cover? The Man Behind the Man, Pissmaker, the story of Demetrius Smith and R. Kelly in the 90s. Okay? All right. So what we're going to do is, like I said, I chopped down the book pretty much, highlighted important parts of the book that we really were like, would be like, oh, okay. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? No, it was a year ago. Okay. You love it? I love it too. It's genius. So as I said, guys, in my geniusness, I had to make a little book of my own. Yes, I'm waking and baking in the background, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm waking and baking, about to read this shit. Okay. All right. So let's get this out. Let me go to the tab. All right, now, guys. Okay, I have my phone in front of me, so I'll be able to see messages here. My charge is good. My other phone, my phone is here. Okay. So anybody calls or anything is there. All right. And how's this charge, by the way? Oh, let me double check the charge. Okay, it's 52. It's all right. It'll survive. All right. So another thing I gotta say, guys, this is a little out of order. Okay, a little out of order. I was trying to put it in order, but it was just a little bit too much because I don't know what happened when I originally did it. I thought it was in order, and then when I went back, I was like, what happened? So I didn't want to go back and do all that change. So I did as much as I could. All right. But like I said, the importance of this is just to take quotes from the book so we can kind of get a gist of things that went on. All right. And I'll explain things as I remember them if I can. Okay? Okay. All right. Well, here we go. So, The Man Behind the Man, Pissmaker, the story of Demetrius Smith and R. Kelly in the 90s. Now, as we all know, R. Kelly married Aaliyah. She was 15, he was 27. Right? In one part of the book, he speaks to Rob, and he says, "It was time to go. Rob, come on, man. It's time to go," I yelled to him. 10 minutes later, he came out of the room again with tears falling down his face. On the way to the airport, he talked on the phone with Daryl. Oh, hold on a second. I got to take this. Oh, shit. Hold on 1 minute, guys. Sorry about that, guys. That was a long pause. I should have started a video for you guys. Hey, the grown little boy. Sorry, that was a very important phone call. I needed to take that phone call. You know, those were the legal people for my son. You know, my son has a lawyer, so his lawyer called me. And we just got through a meeting and everything last week. So yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Hey, good morning, the grown little boy. How are you, Papi? Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's up, Larry? All right, so let's get back into it, y'all. All right, so now Demetrius tells him it was time to go. Rob, come on, man. It's time to go. I yelled at him. 10 minutes later, he came out of the room again with tears falling down his face. On the way to the airport, he talked on the phone with Daryl, telling him to arrange for Aaliyah to go home. This was after the fact that they got married. Okay? Because he took her to where he took her. He took her from Chicago. No, from... What was it? From Florida to Chicago? No, from Detroit. From Detroit to Chicago or some shit. I forgot exactly. Okay? And then he says, I posed the question to him I had in Orlando, right? It was from Orlando to Orlando. They were on their way back to Chicago. They were in a concert in Florida. They left Florida to go to Chicago to meet up with Aaliyah. And in this process, Demetrius Smith says, I posed the question to him I had in Orlando. Who's going to look after her? Aaliyah still has to go to school, I told him. The best and safest thing to do is to send her back home. We still have 6 weeks left to be on the road. You can't expect for her to stay locked in the house all that time alone. Like, what do you think Aaliyah's parents were going to think and do or say to know that their daughter's locked away somewhere because he kept her somewhere trapped? This is what R. Kelly did with her. He wanted to trap her and marry her, and it was just all because he did not want to get in trouble. He didn't want to get locked up, man. He didn't want to go to jail. That's why he did what he did. Now, in this part, at this tour that they were doing in 1994, they hired Lisa Ray. Okay? They hired Lisa Ray. And this is where Demetrius Smith, so whenever you hear me talk about Lisa, he's talking about Lisa Ray. Okay? So here he says that Lisa didn't get high, she didn't drink, and she was down to earth. I knew she would be an asset to the team, and it was good to have someone you knew would be about their business. Now, Lisa Ray was hired as R. Kelly's stylist because that guy Tory was out. He wasn't able to be there. He didn't pass yet. He didn't pass it because he passed away in 1996. This was 1994. So now Demetrius says that at that point, R. Kelly playfully grabbed at Lisa, signaling to Demetrius, signaling to me not to worry. I was trying to find a resolution because Lisa was approaching the situation as if she had already been hired. Like she just came in and just started to try to take over and shit. She wasn't even officially hired yet. And R. Kelly took her by the hand, like, come over here, you know. So Demetrius continues to say that I was relieved she was going home. Robert had told me Aaliyah wasn't going to say anything to her parents about the marriage. Demetrius was relieved that she was going home, and Robert told him that Aaliyah wasn't going to say anything to her parents about the marriage. But Demetrius says, but I knew better than that. When we got back to Miami, we weren't missed. And no one knew we had been to Chicago and back. So much for the parents being there every 2 seconds of the minute of the day, right? The mother said, I was always there. I was always there. Always. You're full of shit. Full of shit, Diana. You full of shit. You wasn't always there, girl. Ugh. He wasn't always there. So nobody knew that they were missing. Nobody knew that Aaliyah snuck out in the middle of the night to go get married and then go back home. Nobody knew nothing except for the people that were there that knew it. That was it. R. Kelly exhaled and shook his head from side to side. There was a look of sadness in his eyes. He looked exhausted. I imagined his thoughts were traveling 1,000 miles a minute. And this was when they were approaching the scene about thinking of getting married. It was after midnight when we arrived in Chicago. Now, this is talking about when they met up in the hotel with Aaliyah before they got married. Okay, before the preacher came and all that. It was after midnight when we arrived in Chicago. We took a cab to the Sheraton Hotel, a few miles from the airport, where Aaliyah had a deluxe suite room, 300-313. So they had one of those suites that had 3 rooms connected. You know, they had one of those suites where one room connected to another room to another room. Like that. Which was, as he said, one of those extended rooms. You know, that you got a bunch of different rooms in one room. But it's like a half a floor. You got 4 doors or whatever you may be or whatever. You know what I mean? To that one apartment. Good morning, T-Ban. Good morning, West Coast. What's up, Damien? What's up, bro? So this is where they had the ceremony in this room, right? Now he says, knowing all the time, all they had to do was threaten to take something away. And Robert, I believe, would have been molded to make better decisions. But in the sight of the people that were making the money, let the truth be told, the artist is just a product. Like Marvin Gaye said, who really cares? Now, in this part, he was kind of explaining about how, you know, he was talking about how Rob was having his ego and his personality was changing and he was being weird and everybody around him was yes men and things of this nature, blah, blah, blah. And R. Kelly wasn't really caring about the people who were trying to help make him a star. he was pushing those people away, treating them like shit, wasn't paying them right. Like, so people would complain about these things and talk, behind R. Kelly's back with one another. So, he said, who cares? R. Kelly is a product. We are here to make this product better, bigger, and better. And in the process, help our families to eat. So a lot of times they would do what they were told, right? Like any other employee would. Now, there was an incident that happened in New York. They were doing a show, and allegedly a girl claimed that she was assaulted in the room by a bunch of dudes. Okay, this happened in New York. This was in 1994, 1995 sometime. This is the era right now we're in, 94, 95. Now, Demetrius says that I remember one time Tyree radioed to me saying that he was down the hall from Robert's suite looking at the police, and they were going into his room. I jumped up straight out of bed. Where is Robert? Was the first thing I asked. Me and Big John got him out of the hotel already, he responded. So this incident happened where the cops came to the hotel room, knocking on doors. The girl, went out and got the police. And before the police got a chance to even get to question Rob was gone. They took him out of the fucking hotel. They scooped him out. They said, you gotta go. You gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go. You're not part of this shit. You gotta go. Right? So in another part, he says, to stop right now would put me back on the streets, meaning to stop working for R. Kelly. R. Kelly had lawyers. I didn't know what Daryl McDavid had going on, but I was going to have to talk to him. I thought as I stood shaking my head, feeling dejected. Because right now you have, he's going to marry Aaliyah. He got to marry Aaliyah. He did marry Aaliyah. This guy is going on. Something's happened in the hotel room with a young lady. This shit is happening. Like, too many things are going on. But R. Kelly has lawyers. His lawyers can handle his business. He's going to listen to their advice. And that's what it is. All right? So that's what he means by this over here. Then he states in his book, he says, yeah, everyone had created a monster. They put all this money in this kid's hand and started kissing his ass. Instead of schooling him and teaching him to care for others, they just sat around and watched as he led himself into chaos, allowing him to pout and have his way, because that's what R. Kelly did. He was a big baby. He would pout and cry and get upset, and people would be like, oh, but R. Kelly, okay, yes, man, yes, man, yes, man, anything for you, yes, man, yes, man. As long as they were benefiting something off of him. Whether it be that they were hanging out with him and smoking cigars, whether it be that they were hanging out with him and playing basketball at the gym, whether it be that he was giving them money on the side, buying them clothes here and there, and things of this nature. These are things that he would do. Buy everybody food and have everybody kicking with him. And these people are part of his entourage, his security. The managers are running around. Sometimes the managers weren't even there. But most of the time, it was his entourage and the security that were together. A lot of times, his artists and people that were, like public announcement, they would leave or some would stay. And with all these people being yes men, they created a monster. As he said, this kid in his 20s, just starting out in stardom, got all this money, attention, girls, and he don't know what to do with it. And instead of people schooling him the right way and taking him by the hand and telling him, no, don't do this, no, don't do that, you had people that were saying, no, don't do this. And he would go, well, you either with me or against me. And they'd be like, what? I'm with you, bro, but, don't you think that what you're doing is wrong? Because I think what you're doing is wrong. Can't you see that? And then he'll have him fired, or he'll dock his money, or he'll be like, I can't trust that dude. Keep him away from me. All the people that were trying to help R. Kelly in his life do the right thing, he didn't follow the rules. So that's why he's where he is today. Because he didn't follow the rules. All the laws. So therefore, you get what you deserve at the end of the day. Because you know what? You brought this upon yourself. Punto, period. Good morning, Nanya. Hi, Mama. What's up, life? What's up, Mom Life? What's up, Mom? Good morning, T-Bam. Good morning, my beautiful ladies. So now here, he talks about the tour that they were on at that time. He said, our last date with Salt and Pepper was Halloween in Buffalo, New York. Now, throughout the whole night, we celebrated the end of the tour during and after Salt and Pepper's performance. So that's where they were in New York when that incident happened in the hotel room with the girl. Okay, so now here he talks about Aaliyah. Again, this is the situation with the marriage and everything. Demetrius says, I already told Daryl and Rob it might be possible to get my friend to give Aaliyah a state ID, but it might cost. They told me to make it happen and not worry about the cost. Now, at trial, Demetrius tried to play like Rob didn't know. But in his book, he's telling you that Rob knew. I already told Daryl and Rob it might be possible to get my friend. It was his friend, Demetrius Smith's friend, who worked for the state to get that ID. And he said, well, it might cost, you know what I mean, And Daryl and Rob, because he said they told me to make it happen and not worry about the cost. Right? Now, in the process, of the Salt and Pepper tour that they had in 94, 95, whenever that was, right? R. Kelly didn't want our performers or the crew, for that matter, to socialize with Salt and Pepper or their crew. Why? I don't know. A lot of things I did not know. The fact that he was paying everyone seemed to make him think he could tell grown people when to come, go, and who to speak to. So this is how R. Kelly felt. Like, this is what he's showing people. You get paid. You got to do what you're told and do what I tell you to do because I pay you. I can imagine some of the things that would come out of R. Kelly's mouth to people. You know what I mean? Now, about that guy, Tyree, and the incident in the hotel with the girl. Demetrius Smith said that guy, Tyree, he spent a week on Rikers Island, New York City's Department of Corrections. He said, I later heard that Rock, another posse friend of Robert's, who was there that night, he had taken pictures of them all in the room with the girl. So there was evidence of these guys with this girl. So they can't say that they weren't with the girl because there's a picture of the guys with the girl. He didn't speak too much about this situation. He didn't talk too much about it. In this part, Demetrius tells R. Kelly, let's do this, boy, I told him, holding my right hand up for him to slap on me, our usual love glove handshake with a big smile. R. Kelly wasn't smiling this time. That's because at the time he was feeling depressed about what was going on with Aaliyah, right? He's sad and everything else. He don't know what to do because he didn't know what to do. He was scared. He was confused. Now, Demetrius says, talking about one of the being on the tour and, you know, having to deal with R. Kelly on the tour was a lot because he just wouldn't listen. He just wouldn't listen. So at one point he says, I found myself knocking on R. Kelly's dressing room door over and over so that I could keep the line moving to clear the area. He had to give every girl that came into his dressing room 30 to 40 damn minutes for an autograph. What? Now, me being a star, I wanted to have a meet and greet with the fans, to have backstage passes, and they can meet me and they can get autographs while I sit in my room, and they're coming in one by one while the line is out the door, because there's not going to be a crowd in my room except for my people. And you're going to have the VIP guests come in one by one, or if it's a pair of people, 2 by 2 or whatever. And they're going to get their autographs and they're going to get their picture with me. And then they're going to go. All of that is going to take no more than 5 minutes. Why the fuck is R. Kelly in his goddamn dressing room with every single girl that came in there for 30 to 40 damn minutes? What? He was trying to groom the girls in 30 to 40 minutes to see if they would drop their panties for him. Or he would probably forcefully do it. Just like what happened to Addie. That's exactly what happened to Addie. If I'm not mistaken. Addie or Stephanie, one of those 2 girls. I just can't remember who they were. That testified that at the time in the concert, they wanted to see, after he married Aaliyah, they went back into the dressing room and he's like, everybody get out, leave the 2 girls in here with me. And he tested them to see how far he could go. And he raped her. He literally raped her. And he's lucky that he didn't get charged for that. He's lucky that she was an uncharged act. a bad act, an example of his character, of who he is, a real monster, a son of a bitch who can't keep his fucking dick in his pants, a man who has a problem. Disgusting. Good morning, Purple Purple. Good morning. I had asked Robert once before if he was messing with Aaliyah, and he said no. I had hoped that he had told me the truth. Now, it was a fact. This grown-ass man had been messing with Aaliyah all the time. The girl had named everyone on the list as to the people she said were involved. Now, this has to do with the girl in the hotel room at New York in this concert that they had with Salt and Pepper. The girl named everyone on the list as to the people she said were involved. She also pointed Tyree out as one of the persons involved. At that point of identification, Tyree went through a series of questions, and because he was there, and I guess because he would not admit to anyone else being there, Tyree was arrested for rape. And as you know, he wound up being in Rikers Island. He was on Rikers at that time. So now Demetrius says, I reiterated my statement to make sure he did not get mad. And he's talking about the Aaliyah situation and him talking to Barry. He was talking to R. Kelly at this time. He says, I reiterate, I can't say it now. I reiterated my statement to make sure he did not get mad. But talking to Barry is totally up to you, Rob. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be right here with you all the way through. However, if it comes out, R. Kelly just sat in total silence. He was numb to what was being said. So at this point, Demetrius is trying to convince R. Kelly to speak to Barry about Aaliyah and what was going on and what was about to happen, that she was going to get married to him. And he was in total silence, like, we can't talk to that nigga. What? No. So now Demetrius says that I knew that something wasn't right about this, but what was I to do? I had to follow the directions my boss gave me and make reservations for us to get to Chicago. He's talking about the Leah situation. All kinds of things were going through my head. So now he was in the direction of his boss, Mr. CEO of the enterprise. Okay? He's the boss. He's the main. He had to make reservations for us to get to Chicago. So Demetrius Smith had to do as he was told. Because if not, he ain't going to get paid. They're going to dock his pay. They're going to take his money. They're going to fire him. He knows that what's going on is wrong. What's about to go down is wrong. But he's got to do what he's got to do because he's got to get paid. Then he says, what Where is she at? I asked. She's still in Detroit. They're talking about Aaliyah. Okay. This is the situation right now. They're talking about the situation, getting prepared to get married and all that. So now R. Kelly is speaking to Demetrius. Demetrius says, "What? Where is she at?" I asked. She's still in Detroit, but I need for you to get her a plane ticket to Chicago and get her a room in a hotel. Now, this is what R. Kelly is telling to Demetrius. I've got to call Daryl and let him know what's going on, he said. So right here, R. Kelly is telling Demetrius to book a plane, get tickets to Chicago. You got to get her to Chicago. She's in Detroit. You got to get her from Detroit to Chicago. Okay? And he's got to go from Florida to Chicago because they were meeting up at the hotel in Chicago. She was coming from Detroit. He was coming from Florida. And they had to get married in the middle of the night because this was a great plan that Daryl McDavid came up for R. Kelly. And R. Kelly went with the plan and the man with the master plan. Right. So he said, I've got to call Daryl and let him know what's going on, he said. Do you want me to call Barry and see if he knows anything? I asked. Now, Demetrius Smith said to R. Kelly, do you want me to call Barry and see if he knows anything? And Demetrius says, I was truly concerned. Yeah, you were so fucking concerned you should have called Barry and told Barry yourself right then and there. Like, listen, this motherfucker's about to do this with your niece. He's been fucking around with your niece. I think we need to do something about this. Fuck her money. I'll get money somewhere else. This little girl's livelihood is more important. Her sanity is more important. Her mental health is more important. Her virginity, which he already took. Now, Demetrius continues to say, when people were approved to receive, I guess he meant to say, where people were approved to receive welfare. So I went to see her and took Aaliyah with me. So when he went to go get this ID at the welfare place, he took Aaliyah with him. He said Aaliyah waited in the car while I went to talk to my friend to get her to do me the favor. Now, in the testimony, I believe he said he had her sign the paperwork and take a picture. Hi, baby. Then acting as if we were in competition instead of entertaining and having fun. R. Kelly and his way of doing things made everybody on the tour, including the production crew, feel uneasy. Why does he act like that? Cheryl James, who is, we all know to be Salt from Salt and Pepper, Cheryl James, she acts that to Demetrius Smith. Demetrius Smith was talking about the tour and the shows and how everybody put on a good show. And R. Kelly was acting like he was in competition with everybody instead of just making it entertaining and having fun. He made it out to be some type of competition with everyone. The Salt and Pepper, I forgot who else it was that was on tour with them. Salt, Pepper, and even his own boys, the public announcement. He was acting jealous with them too. Like, they can't shine. He has to be the light in the room. He has this grandiose, narcissistic personality about him. He's the biggest fucking thing in the room to walk in. And everybody got to bow down to the king. You know, but that's all because of the things that people fed him in his mind, man. They damaged R. Kelly's brain, bro. Seriously. So now he says, I guess we kind of pissed them off when we arrived at the first rehearsal. We walked into the rehearsal facility. He's talking about Salt and Pepper. He said, I guess we kind of pissed them off when we arrived at the first rehearsal. We walked into the rehearsal facility having no regard of their presence. Like, R. Kelly walked into the room and was like, fuck everybody. I don't give a fuck about who's here. I'm the man. I'm the man. Everybody's a nobody. Everybody's beneath me. Like that girl from Escape, T.I.'s wife, Tiny, said, you know, we were doing the tour with Salt and Pepper, whatever. They were on it too. They were there as well. We were there, and everybody had to get into their dressing rooms because nobody be out in the hallway when R. Kelly walked the hallways. What the fuck kind of shit is that? So the ladies, Salt and Pepper, were upset by this because they didn't think R. Kelly would be this way and have this type of personality. So he's feeling like they're pissed off because when they first arrived, they walked in and didn't even acknowledge like they were there. Like, hey, ladies. He said, nobody spoke to one another. I knew where the dressing rooms were, so I led the way as we walked straight through and to our dressing rooms. Now back to Lisa Ray and the whole thing of her trying to get a job with R. Kelly as a stylist. Demetrius says to her, not yet, girl. We were still waiting on you. I replied. After chit-chatting for a few moments, Lisa told me she had given the idea some thought and said it would be good exposure for her. She would be able to network in hopes to expanding her modeling career. So she wanted to work for him as a stylist and stuff like that to network, you know, in the industry and things of that nature and try to get closer to the industry that she wanted to be in, you know, and get closer to people who have pull, you know. Now, regarding going back to Aaliyah again with the ID, Demetrius says R. Kelly also knew someone who worked for FedEx who would allow her to say that she worked for FedEx. So we were able to get 2 IDs in Jewtown, as what he called it. And on top of that, Aaliyah had a school ID card. So she had 3 forms of ID. Her school card, the welfare card, and a FedEx employee card. So that's how she was able to get married. And R. Kelly is the one who led her to the person who worked for FedEx. Demetrius Smith is the one who led Daryl and Kelly to the welfare office to get the ID. And of course, R. Kelly paid for it because the money came out of his pockets. Daryl McDavid is the one that gave him the money, but it's R. Kelly's money. So R. Kelly paid for it at the end of the day. Demetrius Smith is just the one who made the transaction. So this is why R. Kelly was charged with bribery. Because at the end of the day, he is the one who paid for the transaction. He is the one who thought that he was going to be in trouble by making Aaliyah pregnant. So he's the one who got Aaliyah in trouble. Daryl McDavid is the one who came up with the master plan to say, listen, you're going to have to marry the chick so that you can't get pressed. They won't press charges on you. If you marry her, you got to make it right. But then Daryl McDavid didn't know better than to say, well, the only way that could happen is if you get permission from the parents. And I'm pretty sure Daryl McDavid said, well, if anybody says anything, just say it was a publicity stunt. And that's what everybody went with. And still to this day, people actually believe that shit. Oh, man. Let me get something to drink. Give me a second, guys.
What do you think about repetition? Big fan. Just make sure you squash that sucker when it goes in. Sounds like a plan. Right.
All right.
Like it's 1 mile an hour.
So he continues to say, I was hoping he'd talk to me and be open to listen to me, but he wasn't. He was sold with the plan that Daryl and his lawyer friends had. That was the way he was going to follow. With the 3 forms of IDs, we were able to obtain a marriage license for Robert Sylvester Kelly and Aaliyah Houghton to be married. Once this was done, R. Kelly had another friend who knew a preacher who performed the ceremony. Okay? So, R. Kelly had another friend get a preacher for them so that they could get married. The humility he portrayed no longer glimmered of pride. R. Kelly had lost his respect. I began to look at him, question his morals, and wonder if he had any. This was crazy, and I knew it. And this is what he was saying about the whole situation with him wanting to marry Aaliyah, and the fact that he actually had sex with Aaliyah, and that Aaliyah might be pregnant. So a million things is going through his mind, and Demetrius Smith just lost all respect for him at the moment. Okay? He just lost respect for him. He began to start looking at him different and questioning him. Like, what the fuck? Like that was baby girl. Seriously? I asked you if you were messing around with her and you told me no. And here it is months later and you're telling me now you're scared because something, she might be pregnant. Right. So okay, so now he says R. Kelly wanted an answer. Well, Johnny, man, where you at with me? He asked. I felt beaten and trapped into taking on a deep feeling of inequity, I guess, iniquity. Okay, I'm saying that wrong. Sorry for the mispronunciation. Um, he says, I tucked my chin to my chest. Man, I'm with you, man. I'm just saying, though, Rob, in a final appeal, looking at him with a look that said it was a stupid idea. Now, R. Kelly in this moment is telling him, either you with me or you're not with me, man. Because he needed him to be by his side to help him out. And at this point, Demetrius Smith is like, I don't know what to do, but I'm with you, man. I'm here, man. But this is a stupid idea. I don't think you should do this. It was strange when R. Kelly would pull me to the side at times and talk about how he was having second thoughts about releasing the single Sex Me, which was also on the 12 Play album. Now I'm thinking to myself, he was feeling weird about this one song and releasing it. Why? Was it because he was thinking about Aaliyah when he wrote that song? You know, I wonder, was he thinking about Aaliyah? Is this why he was feeling strange about putting that song in, releasing that single? I wonder. I wonder. Caleb says, sounds like Levi here. I don't agree with his morals. A lot of people don't agree with R. Kelly's morals. I don't agree with it. Half the world don't agree with it. Okay. Some people just love the man because they love the man. I get it. You know what I mean? But I don't have no personal attachment to this man to be like, but I love him because he's my cousin. I love him because he's my cousin. Yeah. No, I don't have this attachment. You know, I think maybe if it was my relative, I would probably be like, well, it's sad that it has to be this way, but you know, if he did that shit, then he did that shit and he's gotta do the time because he did the crime. Like, that's just what being held responsible for your actions is. So, you know, but whatever. So now, Demetrius says, at this point, I hadn't seen anything. Nobody else seemed to see anything out of the ordinary. And what I was thinking I saw was a clear as daylight. Who am I? No one was listening to me. I wasn't important. So I let it go Besides, Aaliyah and her family were going back to Detroit after the shoot anyways. So all this had happened, and he couldn't stop it. All this is going on, and he couldn't stop it. He couldn't say nothing. He couldn't do nothing. He couldn't do nothing. Why you couldn't do nothing, Demetrius? You could have done a lot. You sure as hell could have done a lot, and you didn't. And it was because of your own selfish reasons. You were thinking about yourself and nobody else. You weren't thinking about Aaliyah, none of that. You weren't, if you honestly loved Aaliyah, I think you would have done something about it. You loved Robert more than you did Aaliyah, and that's a shame. And she was a little girl. And you let that man take advantage of that little girl along with her parents. Just swept it under the rug as if nothing ever happened, and it was okay that it happened. In reality, it was not okay. Now, he says, no woman just showed up there without being invited. He's talking about his house. Now, Demetrius Smith is talking about the house. Whether it was the house, whether it was the studio, anywhere that R. Kelly was at. No woman just showed up there without being invited. Okay? Let's make this fucking clear. All right? Okay? No girls just went to R. Kelly's door like this. Hi, yes, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Yeah, can I see R. Kelly? Yeah, he don't know me. He don't know me, but I'm here because I want to be here because I want to see him. Yup. Yep, that's why I'm here. Yep, I want to kiss his ass, lick his ass, do all that shit. I'm here. Yup. Nobody did that shit. Okay? For all you supporters who keep talking that, but they didn't search. He didn't go looking for them. They went looking for him. Why? Because they were fans who paid tickets to see him? The fuck? If that's the case, then he shouldn't have fans. I mean, really. So I'm going to read this. This is coming from Demetrius Smith's mouth. No woman just showed up there without being invited, or there would be no admittance. And that pretty much went for anybody. Doesn't matter who the fuck you are. If you are not invited to R. Kelly's house, you will not be there ringing his bell or knocking on his door. Okay? Hey, Demetrius, did you guys find you a stylist to go out with y'all yet? Was the first thing she asked when she walked into the studio. And he's talking about Lisa Ray. This is Lisa Ray finding out if they still had anybody to work for him. Now Demetrius says he didn't know what he was doing though, but at the same time I was admirable of the older women whom he kept company with. There was Samara, Tina, Kim, and this is only a few names. So now Demetrius Smith is telling us that not only did R. Kelly have young girls around him, but he had these three particular women around him. And they were women. They were in their late teens, early 20s. Okay, 19, 20, 21, 22, like that. College girls. Okay? College girls. That's what they were. Lisa Ray and her friends were college girls. Okay? All right. Then he says, it was apparent their parents didn't have a problem with them being out in the late hours of the night. And he's speaking about the young ladies that were around R. Kelly in the 90s, and we know who they are, right? Give me 1 second, guys. Yes, Nexie, I agree. He loved the money more, but he wasn't getting paid enough. So it wasn't really too much about the money. It was more about being around Rob. That's why I said, guys, you gotta, if you get a chance, go purchase the book and you can read the whole book. So now he states here, it was apparent their parents didn't have a problem with them being out in the late hours of the night. The girls came and went as they pleased. He always told me that they were talented and that he was going to produce them. Now, do you understand why these minor girls were still hanging out around R. Kelly? Because he promised them a career. Stick with me. Fuck school. Stick with me. I'll make you a star. And while you're at it, you're going to have to make sure you pay your dues. Okay, now. So that means your dues, you got to bend over and give me what I want. That's how you pay your dues, because that's how we work in the industry. That's what I want you to know. That in the industry, you got to be willing to do anything for anyone. You have to prove loyalty first. That's the way R. Kelly treated these girls. Like they were fucking pieces of meat. Because he's a piece of shit who has a problem with keeping his dick in his pants because it scratches too much. He scratches it way too much. He's too itchy down there. The bumps get to him. He kept a dictaphone with him to play, to help him record his ideas throughout the day. So R. Kelly kept the dictaphone with him. So he would record his ideas throughout the days. He would go out of character. Thank you. Pretending he was whoever he needed to be, whether it was Gladys Knight or Michael Jackson. Okay? It didn't matter. One night while we were in the lounge area of CRC Studios shooting some pool, Barry was talking about his niece, Aaliyah. Barry said he wanted us to drive to Detroit, Michigan, so we could meet her and her family. He told us how she was on Star Search. He wanted Robert to develop her skills and possibly produce her. Now, this is before he got into the grips of Aaliyah. See, like I said, this book, I try to keep it in order as best as I could, but I don't know what happened when I um, downloaded it to store it to my drive. It went out of order after that. It was weird. So, sorry, guys. So I'm reading it a little backwards. You know what I mean? So now he says that right before we were to depart on the tour with Gerald Levert, Mia told Rob to bring everyone over to their friend Lisa's house, Lisa Ray, for a pajama party. That friend was Lisa Ray. I smiled at the thought because Lisa Ray was one very fine, classy woman to me. And this is what Demetrius has said about her. This was the first time any of us traveled out of the country. It was just the guys on this trip. R. Kelly, public announcement, Tori, Larry, and then there was me. We left Chicago's O'Hare International Airport at 5 p.m. and arrived in the city of Amsterdam at 9 a.m. Our tired and sleepy bodies were still back in Chicago. We were anticipating rest once we reached the hotel. So R. Kelly at this time in the 90s, in 1994, 92, 91, 92, 93, or 94, he went out of the country to Amsterdam and he performed there. Rob turned around towards me. His facial expression showed that he was offended with my statement. He became imprudent in a soft tone as he snapped at me. Look, Johnny man, I don't need you in my head because I'm doing this. Now, he was talking about how R. Kelly with his antics and the girls. Thank you for the Cash App. He was really letting Rob know, listen, you can't keep doing this shit with these girls, these young girls back here, and you're doing this and the young girls, and you're always with young girls. You gotta stop it, man. You gotta stop it, man. He kept telling him. And he wouldn't listen. He wouldn't listen. He would give him dirty looks. He would curse him out. He would tell him, you with me or you not with me. Like, he would fire him, rehire him, fire him, rehire him. Crazy. Now, did we finish that? I think we did, right? Yeah. I forgot there's a part here. It's missing here, but he says that wanted to bust out in tears. I guess he said, I wanted to bust out in tears, or whoever wanted to bust out in tears. He said, oh man, Rob was all I could say at the time. It was him. I wanted to bust out in tears. Oh man, Rob was all I could say at the time. Man, my mind was totally confused. I was somewhat angry, and at the same time, I wanted to protect R. Kelly. Now, this is how he felt when R. Kelly first approached him about Aaliyah. He didn't know how to feel. He didn't know how to react. He didn't know what to do. And then Rob and his famous damn line, you're either with me or against me, he said. I took it as if he were giving me an ultimatum. I knew what he was implying. You don't realize it, but man, you don't know it all. Although I was opposed to everything that was going on, I still had to assist in this effort to make sure R. Kelly and Aaliyah were married. I knew a lady that worked at the public aid office. She was in charge of taking the photos for IDs. So this is what was going on with Aaliyah. Demetrius Smith helped put it together for them. He went along with whatever Daryl McDavid's plan was for R. Kelly and had to make sure that it went through, that the plan went through to protect R. Kelly and fuck Aaliyah, because basically that's what he said. Fuck Aaliyah, protect R. Kelly. Sickening. You should be ashamed of yourself, Demetrius. And he should definitely have done some time for putting these children in harm's way, you know, knowing a lot of things about these girls, being there, just being an enabler. You should be there as part of the RICO. You should have sat right next to him in jail, honestly. Now he says, we were scheduled to stay in Miami, Florida for a few days, and I thought that allowed us to get some much needed rest. It turned out to be just the opposite. That's because while he was there in Florida, he got the news that R. Kelly got Aaliyah pregnant. That night in Florida, he had to leave with R. Kelly, go to Chicago so he could marry Aaliyah. I agree with you, Caleb, on that comment you just made, mamita. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Now, he says, I wanted Robert to talk to Barry. It was the right thing to do. So I asked him, how you gonna deal with Barry without dealing with him honestly? Rob, he is still your manager. So he's coming up with this plan and he's talking about, I can't speak to Barry. I can't tell Barry anything. Barry can't know about this. Demetrius says Barry was still Robert's manager. And let's not forget, he was also Aaliyah's uncle. Now they were related. Now R. Kelly is related to Barry Hankerson. May as well have the family feud, I thought. Barry Hankerson knew R. Kelly and Aaliyah had something special between the two of them. I was Mr. Kelly's personal assistant. I never looked or suspected that Robert was having an affair with Aaliyah, at least not for a long while. He was older than her, and I took his word that their attraction for each other was their common love for music. But as we know, that's not what happened. As I poured the coffee into my sugar, as I poured the sugar into my coffee, I told him, it's going to be all right, Rob. We're going to get it right. I think she's pregnant, he said, in a voice that sounded as if he How you gonna marry Aaliyah, Rob? I asked in bitter sadness. I wanted him to really think about what he was saying. Aaliyah was a baby. I was stunned and hurt that this had happened. This was all bad. I wanted Rob to know that I was with him, but at the same time, I didn't want to be totally submissive so that he felt like I was condoning what was happening. Right before it was time for us to leave, R. Kelly called me back up to the room. Once again, once up there, he asked me if I thought he should let Aaliyah go to his condo over at the Lake Point Towers. He didn't agree with me involving Barry as part of the solution. He felt it would give Barry something to use against R. Kelly and in turn give him more control over R. Kelly's career and finances. I wasn't feeling Daryl McDavid and all his big shot lawyer friends that I had never met. My young friend I brought up from Chicago was in deep worry and troubled, and his financial advisor was telling him he could buy his way out instead of calling a meeting amongst men. When I asked him how things were with Aaliyah, he wasn't too talkative. And for the next few days, it was like that. Robert stayed to himself, and everything about Aaliyah was now confidential. So Rob was in a stink for a few days, a few weeks, going on with this plan. They didn't, he got married to her. They were going to marry. He was all over the place. He didn't know what to do with himself. And he said that, he wasn't feeling Daryl McDavid or his big shot lawyer friends. He really wasn't. He says, although I was opposed to everything that was going on, I still had to assist in this effort to make sure R. Kelly and Aaliyah were married. I knew a lady that worked for the public aid office, and she was in charge of taking the photos for the IDs. Now he says here, after a couple of days, thank you, Nanya. After a couple of days of pondering on the idea of going on the road, Lisa Ray, right? So we're talking about now. Lisa paid us a visit at the CRC studios. When she arrived at the studio, R. Kelly was in the booth laying down vocals to a song he wrote for Aaliyah. So Lisa Ray was in their life in the 90s for a little while. She's from Chicago too. Now, Barry was still his manager, but he was dealing with Daryl McDavid now concerning the tour business. So we continued our tour, and things hadn't changed in regard to R. Kelly and the group when it came to them being snobbish in relation to Salt and Pepper. So this is the way he treated people, like he was the shit and everybody else was a peasant. They didn't matter to him. It didn't matter who you are. I did not want to do this. These situations kept arising, changing the course in the direction I wanted my life to go. But at the same time, I felt as if I had to hold on to my job. This was my dilemma. This was my stress, along with helping to raise Robert. So, like I said, Demetrius Smith was worried about money and having money. Everything in this book he talks about is having money, 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 how he needs money, money, money. I know we all need money to survive and stuff like that. But, dude, if you knew that things weren't right, you could have just left and never looked back. But you kept going back and kept going back and kept going back and kept going back. Now, remember in the Gail King interview where he says, oh, you know, I keep forgiving people and they just keep coming back and I keep letting them in and they keep coming back. And I think he was talking about Demetrius Smith. That's what I think. That's what I think. Give me a second, guys. You know what? While we're on a quickie break, let me see if. Hold on. In the meantime, I'm gonna play a quick video for you guys. This is a quick 6-minute little video, and it talks about sex offenders and the type which is ephilia, okay, which is another part of being a pedophile. But when you're an ephilia, you are a person who likes teenage girls, okay? So we're going to watch this quick little video while I go take a quick break.
Hi, I'm Kathy Cassidy. I'm a clinical forensic therapist.
Okay, let me know if you guys can hear the video
that we're putting out to describe the different type of sex offenders. Psychologically speaking, pedophiles are in different groups. They have urges and attraction. Hi, I'm Kathy Cassidy. I'm a clinical forensic therapist. Today's video is part of the series that we're putting out to describe the different type of sex offenders. Psychologically speaking, pedophiles are in different groups. They have urges and attraction to teenagers, basically. They will commonly make comments about, she looks like a woman, she dresses like a woman. They will justify their attraction to them. This type of offender, a lot of them tend to be, from what I saw in my professional experience, they tend to be married. They tend to have jobs that are steady. They tend to have families, meaning children. They are viewed the same way most people are in the community. They're friendly, they have barbecues, these types of things. One of the parolees that I worked with, he was on parole for a sex offense against teenager. I believe she was 14, 15 years old. So he was about a little under 6 feet tall, average to handsome, took care of himself. He had a steady job. He was very well spoken, very friendly, very charming. So this guy would come to group every day on time. He'd be at the door waiting to get in group. He would talk about following the rules. He was a big rule follower, and would really kind of shame the other offenders in group for thinking or doing anything out of the conditions of their parole. As his crime came out and when it was his turn to describe in full accountability what he did, basically he's married with sons. I believe he had one daughter. He would come home from work, put his boots in the same place. He was a very rigid guy, same routine. And then suddenly his daughter and his wife started what he felt like were keeping secrets from him. He would come in, they would be in the bedroom, kind of whispering, and that was bothering him because part of a lot of offenders is control and power and being, this big person in the family, this big, strong personality. So the fact that they were keeping a secret was starting to infuriate him, and the rage was building. He found out that his daughter had an abortion. They tried to hide it from him. So he overheard this, became immediately enraged and left the house. When he left the house, he was driving near a high school and he saw one of his daughter's friends on the street. And he said, "Hey, do you need a ride?" He rolled down the passenger side window. She was like, "Oh, yeah," because she recognized him. They weren't great friends, but she recognized him. So she got in the car. Mistake number one. Not on her part, of course, but this is where it went south. She gets in the car. He drives her to an alleyway, very brutally rapes her, goes home, starts going into hiding. More is happening with the daughter and the wife with the secrets. Goes out a couple days later, same routine. Finds a girl, this girl he didn't know at all, teenager, 14, 15. Asks her if she needs a ride. For whatever reason, she did. Got in the car, same thing. Took her to a different alley. Violently rapes this girl, same thing, back seat, except she kicked the door handle. It was an old car in the back seat and got out and ran away. Fast forward. Meantime, this guy's in hiding, shutting all the curtains, changing his whole routine, and he says he's terrified he's going to get caught. About a year goes by, and his son says, "I met a girl, is getting serious. I would like to invite her to dinner." The offender and the wife were really happy. This was his first girlfriend. So they were like, "Of course, bring her over." Mom prepares the dinner. The doorbell rings, and it's time, to bring the girlfriend in. And naturally, the offender, being the man of the house, he insists on opening the door, opens the door, and absolutely dies inside. It's the second girl that he raped. And that was who his son found to be his girlfriend. So he was terrified, but she acted normal according to him. So he's like, maybe she doesn't recognize me. Maybe she doesn't remember me. They had dinner, conversation. So he's thinking, even though he's scared, he said that, he felt like he was really in the clear. She must not have remembered him. So they finish their dinner. The girl's parents pick her up from the house. Then the offender and his wife and kids are sitting in the living room talking about how great the girlfriend is and on, and the doorbell rings. So, of course, he goes to the doorbell because he's in charge. And who's there but the police? This little girl waited all through dinner. She did remember him from the minute she saw him. She was able to, I don't know how, get through that whole meal and that time and not show any fear or let him know in any way that she knew exactly who he was. And when her parents picked her up, she told them, and they called the police, and he did go to prison. Got out on parole, which is where I met him, pretending to be the good parolee, always following the rules. Long story short, parole officer goes to his house to do their normal checks, pops up the ceiling, and in there are several computers filled with child porn. There it was. But what a small world, and the way he got caught was really unique. Protect your children, believe your children, be careful, and that's all I have for this video.
Wow, that was deep. So that was a story about an ebophile, a man who likes teenage girls, a hebephile and an ebophile. A hebephile is a person who likes girls 13 and up, up to 17. And then a ebophile is what she was explaining about, is a guy who likes girls who are 18 or 19 years old. So that's messed up. That was really a story. So I just wanted you guys to just see the comparison as to what she was talking about when it comes to R. Kelly. So let's continue. So he says, however, When I mentioned Barry, R. Kelly became disconcerted. No, we can't do that, Johnny. Don't call Barry, he said. You need to get us back to Chicago right after the show. She needs me, man, and I need to be there for her. And this is what R. Kelly said to Demetrius. And yes, Demetrius was very complicit. Was Aaliyah 12 or 13 when he started with her? Well, he was 12. She was 12 when he initially met her, and then he started with her when she was 13, pulling her away and doing sessions at night. And Demetrius was like, why you keep doing these sessions at night? He even went and spoke to the father about it and let the father know, I don't think she should be out so late. Don't you think, she got school and this, that, and the third. And he's like, listen, don't worry about it. She does what she has to do. This is part of her career. We understand. The father was blind to everything as well. Now, R. Kelly immediately took Aaliyah to the bedroom. As soon as he got to the hotel and he saw her, he took her to the hotel bedroom. R. Kelly, she's 15 at this time. R. Kelly immediately took Aaliyah to the bedroom while Tyree and I remained in the living room until he returned 45 minutes later. What do you think he was doing in the room with this girl while these other two guys are sitting outside waiting for 45 minutes? Now he says, I spoke to Daryl. We were to meet first thing the next morning at his office on 12th Street and Wabash. Demetrius says, you married her, Rob, and that was an honorable thing to do. A bit premature, but nonetheless, you're showing you mean well. Get the... Demetrius! Demetrius! What the fuck you mean? What? He said, you married her, Rob, and that was an honorable thing to do. That was honorable, guys. According to Demetrius, this was an honorable thing to do. A bit premature, but nonetheless, you're showing you mean well. And this is a good thing, guys. This is a good thing according to Demetrius. Hey, daughter of the Most High. What's up, baby? What's up, honey? Hi, honey. What's up, lady? What's up, James? Good morning, brother. Good afternoon. Now he says, I wanted this to turn out right, and I wanted Robert to do what was right. Rob, I think you should call Barry and talk to him about this, man. Barry loves you, man, and he knows you love Aaliyah. What other way is there, Robert? The pictures, along with the attorneys R. Kelly had behind Tyree, he was able to walk out from under the ugly monster girl's lies. Now, remember the incident that happened in New York in the hotel with the security, Tyree. This is what he's talking about here, the incident. The pictures along with R. Kelly's attorneys, were working with Tyree, his security, and they had pictures, remember? He was able to walk out from under the ugly monster girl's lies. Now, he called this girl an ugly monster because she screamed rape. He called her an ugly monster. He said the ugly monster girl's lies. How dare he? Now, as we spoke before about the IDs, they weren't asking, Demetrius says, that they weren't asking for much at all. Basically, 3 pieces of ID and a state ID showing that Aaliyah was 18 years old. So when we left there, we went back to the hotel to put together a plan to make sure this marriage would happen. So they found out everything they needed first to get the marriage license. So they found out information about how to obtain the marriage license for them. They know that they needed 3 pieces of ID, and one of these had to be a state ID showing that she was 18. So now they had to put a plan together on exactly how this was going to happen. Now he says, what about when we get back and have to get ready to go overseas? Let Aaliyah go home, Rob. She's your wife now. Time will fix the rest of it. This is what he says to R. Kelly. What about when we get back and have to get ready to go overseas? Let Aaliyah go home. She's your wife now. Time will fix the rest of it. Are you kidding me? What? Daughter of the Most High. Girl, he needs to be sitting right next to R. Kelly. Now, he says, at checkout time the next morning, as everyone was boarding the bus, I went up to Robert's room to check in on him. Tyree was in there with him. When I walked in the door, Tyree shook his head in disgust, as if R. Kelly was having a pity party with himself. So at this point now, R. Kelly is, depressed because he has to figure out what to do with Aaliyah. Now, we're going back to Lisa Ray. And the reason why Lisa Ray was picked, because Lisa Ray had to fill his stylist, who Don Russell said he killed. Remember when Don Russell said that he killed the stylist, Tory Diggs? Well, here it talks about Tory Diggs being his stylist, and Lisa Ray was filling in the position for him. Now, Tory at the time, I guess, couldn't do it or whatever have you be, so they had to pick someone else. So they decided to try to work with Lisa Ray. So he says, to fill Tory's spot as R. Kelly's stylist, I asked Lisa Ray if she would be available. She thought I was joking at first. We knew she was into modeling, but I also noticed that she had style. After she got out of R. Kelly's hug, surprisingly, she proceeded to confront Robert about the tour we were scheduled to leave out on in the next couple of days. He's still talking about Lisa Ray. Now, as I stood looking at him, I wondered to myself if R. Kelly talked with Barry. Would Barry be able to forgive him? After all, Barry and Robert were always on the road. Now, when Aaliyah opened up the door, she looked at me as if she was asking, am I doing the right thing? I wanted so bad to tell her to go home, but R. Kelly was standing right in front of me. I felt I had done what I could. No one paid any attention to me. No one saw me. It was my business, but yet not my business. And this is what he's saying about Aaliyah with R. Kelly and the whole marriage situation. Now he says, I wasn't in a good mood in his office. So now they're at Daryl's office. Remember, he told him he wanted him to meet him at his office on Wabash, right? So now they're in the office and he says, I wasn't in a good mood in his office. I let him know that I was not in agreement with R. Kelly marrying Aaliyah. Daryl, man, you know this ain't right. I've already told Rob how I felt, and I feel that you supposed to tell him too, man. Now, Rob, I know how you'll be acting crazy out there on that road. So how you gonna act with me out there with you? I don't want to be involved in no wild parties. I am not into that, she made clear. Now, this is Lisa Ray. Lisa Ray is letting Rob know that if I go out on the road with you, I know how you are. And I don't want to be involved in no wild shit you doing. Because she's not into that. And she made that clear to Rob. And that's what she said. She said, Lisa Ray said, now, Rob, I know how y'all be acting crazy out there on the road. So how you going to act with me out there with you? I don't want to be involved in no wild parties. I am not into that. She let him know from the jump, like, listen, I don't know what you do. I don't care what you do, but I'm not being involved in none of that. Just letting you know, if I go on the road, don't include me. Okay, honey bunny, let me tell you what we're listening to. We are listening to Demetrius Smith's book, The Man Behind the Man. Now, what I did was I took out certain quotes from the book. The book is really, really long. And I got about 600 quotes to read to you guys from chapters 7 all the way to the end of his book. So that's what I have here. So we are going through quotes that I took out from his book. All right. So now he says, granted, we had just finished doing a show earlier that evening. Clive, which is Clive Davis, right? Clive and his guest were there to pay Robert a visit. Now, once Clive found out something was going on involving R. Kelly with the hotel, he went to investigate. Now, this is Clive Davis was at this hotel where they had the show, and Clive Davis so happened to be there and seen that the cops were dealing with R. Kelly and his crew. So Clive David went to investigate what was going on with R. Kelly. Because remember, Clive Davis is the one who owns Sony, I believe, or works for Sony or something like that, right? Now, here Demetrius Smith is talking about Lisa Ray again and that situation, right? He says, when R. Kelly and Lisa came back into the studio mixing room, he told me Lisa was on board. For me, the stage was set. I had a whole new crew going out, and I was looking forward to stepping up to the next level of management. Now, back to Aaliyah. He says, what kind of mess is going on, and what am I getting myself into? With Aaliyah being Barry's niece, I couldn't understand why R. Kelly didn't want to contact Barry, especially since she ran away from home. This at the first point is what Demetrius Smith was thinking was going on, that Aaliyah ran away from home. Now, he says, sure, she was young in age, but she was ahead of her age in so many ways. Aaliyah, in my opinion, processed a spirit of joy, fun, and happiness that was all together. And you could feel that when you were in her presence. She was a princess who wanted everybody to be happy. It seemed she wasn't going to give R. Kelly or me a chance to respond to her accusations. This is Lisa Ray again. It's going back to Lisa Ray. Now, at this point, he was going back and forth with them, talking about it. It was weird how he did the book. It seemed she wasn't going to give R. Kelly or me a chance to respond to her accusations. Lisa, you and I talked about you going, but you never confirmed you're being able to go. Now, remember, she was talking about how R. Kelly partied, this, that, and the third. So she wants to make sure that none of the shenanigans is going to be going on while she's around. But Demetrius is like, why are you making accusations and you didn't even say if you were going yet? So that's why he made that statement that he made there. Then he says, it was almost time to leave. We had to make it back to Miami. So Robert, now this is after the marriage, and they had to go back to Florida. Okay? Because remember, he was doing a show in Florida, left Florida, went to Chicago, married Aaliyah in the middle of the night, and then went back to Florida to finish up the show. So it was almost time to leave. We had to make it back to Miami. So Robert and I left his apartment and went back to Aaliyah's hotel room. When I told him how much time we had before we would have to leave, he spent the few minutes we had with Aaliyah. Now, here he's talking about R. Kelly's antics and how R. Kelly likes to hang around little girls. So here in this part, he says, the immaturity that was happening within our camp made me sit back to analyze my position and what was ahead. I knew the saying of Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. I wanted to do a good job in spite of Mr. Almighty R. Kelly wanting to keep people off balance by exercising his power of authority. Like everybody says that he likes to cause confusion and chaos in his camp so he can have control over things. Now he says, I was disturbed at the thought that Aaliyah was in trouble. What do you mean Aaliyah's in trouble, Rob? I asked. And Rob said she ran away from home. So when R. Kelly went to Demetrius Smith about the whole Aaliyah situation, he told Demetrius that Aaliyah ran away from home. Now, they're going to get the IDs, right? After negotiating a fee of $500, he was talking to the person, to his friend at the office, at the welfare office. Listen, I'll pay you this. No, I'll pay you that. No, you know what? How about 500? Sure. The 500 is good. So he was negotiating with the worker. And after negotiating, he came up with a fee of $500, what they agreed to. Then he says, I took Aaliyah into the office where she took a photo ID stating her name, birth date, and a year that showed that she was 18. This was our first proof of identification, and it was an official state of Illinois' ID card. Next, he says, finally, he responded, you're right, Johnny. I've got to send her home. He's talking about Aaliyah. This is R. Kelly now. R. Kelly and Demetrius speaking. Demetrius says, finally, he responded, you're right, Johnny. I've got to send her home, as he began to cry. What did I do, man? Was the question he asked himself as he sobbed like a broken man deep in sorrow. So he marries her, and then he's upset. He's like, I got to send her home. I don't know what to do. He knows he's about to go to jail. So he's getting scared and he's being paranoid. But when reality set in and the truth was known, I saw a different picture. What I saw with R. Kelly and Aaliyah, I can only say what I think. It wasn't that I didn't like it. It was just that I knew it wasn't going to turn out right. I knew the timing was all off for them to be a couple. He's talking about how the timing was all off. Really, Demetrius? Really? Really? The timing was off. That's what was off. Everything was okay. You weren't happy with the situation, but you were okay with the situation. Make that shit make sense. I'm confused. It's a lot more to it than you know. And I'll tell you, but right now, don't call Barry. This is what R. Kelly is saying to Demetrius. Get us to Chicago right after the show, Johnny, man. I need for you to do that. All right, man? He asked as he stepped onto the lift that was taking him up to the stage. So, as he was doing his show, he's talking to Demetrius as he's trying to get on the lift to do his show. He's like, I don't care what's going on, but we got to go to Chicago right now. Regardless of R. Kelly's bus driver's susceptibility, R. Kelly's after show activities were wearing me down. I felt like a high school hall guard. After every show, I had to monitor R. Kelly's long line of young girls. He wasn't happy with R. Kelly's after show activities. They were wearing Demetrius Smith down. He felt like a high school hall guard. After every show, he had to monitor R. Kelly's long line of girls. What's that? Hold on, guys. Give me a second. That's his nickname for him. He calls him Johnny. That's a nickname that he's always called him. Yeah, seriously, daughter most high. He's weird. He was thinking he would be able to hide her forever. Like, what? He's crazy. Yes.
The stuff you put in the microwave is in there for a time.
3 minutes. 3 minutes, yours.
No, I mean yours.
Oh, mine should be coming out now.
Okay.
It should be almost done. No, I just put it in for a minute and a half, I think it was. Okay, thank you. And oh, I have a little cup of sour cream in there in the fridge, Davina. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Forgot it's dinner lunchtime. Okay, so now he continues to say phone with each other, and I felt they formed a special bond. He was talking about what's his face? The guy, Barry Hankerson. Thank you, Andy. So then so now he says phone with each other, and I felt they formed a special bond. You married her, Rob, and that was an honorable thing to do. A bit premature. Okay, I read that already. I got that twice. Sorry about that. Okay, now we're going back to the hotel situation with the rape in New York. He says that with the police in the room, I figured the safest thing to do now was to get R. Kelly on the road to the next city. I was walking with the driver going through the lobby of the hotel when I saw Clive Calder, the CEO of Jive Records. That's who he is, the CEO of Jive Records. Now, and a few other Jive reps appear. Now he says, Demetrius says, I don't think you can help who you love, in my opinion. I think Robert Kelly loved Aaliyah. And in my opinion, again, I think Aaliyah loved him too. So, I mean, I can see that they loved each other. You know, I'm pretty sure, just like all the other girls, within due time, they fall in love with him. Whether it be a brotherly, sisterly love, a boyfriend, girlfriend love, or a great friend love. But they all form some type of relationship with him to where they all love him. You know? Now he says, he shook my hand and pulled me towards him. Johnny, man, Aaliyah's in trouble. And I got to get to her, Johnny. I need you to get us a flight to Chicago after the show, he said. Now, here he was talking about how he had, at this part, he had issues with R. Kelly getting paid from R. Kelly. So he wound up going to Barry and shit. And then Barry was like, listen, don't worry, I got you, man. And he paid Demetrius. Now, in this part, he says, I wired my woman $200 and went right back to the studio. No one noticed I was gone. I went in to join Robert and acted as if I was cool and feeling his music. The only thing I was feeling good about was the fact that I had taken care of my responsibility at home. I felt bad about taking the money, no doubt. Oh, This is the part where he took $200 out of R. Kelly's wallet. R. Kelly left his wallet on a bar, and Demetrius seen it, went in it. He took $200 out, paid himself because he kept fighting with R. Kelly to get paid, and R. Kelly wasn't paying him. So, being that he saw the wallet on the thing in the hotel, on the bar table or whatever, he wound up taking money for himself to get paid. So what he did was he took that $200 and he wired it home to his girl, so she could do whatever she had to do. Now he says, I had been on the road many times before, but this tour with R. Kelly was wild, going and coming. It was a new experience for me. Dealing with my boys being alcoholics and partying with the ladies was one thing. But this tour was like taking kids out on a field trip to the museum, except they were old enough to travel without a legal guardian. He's like, we had a bunch of kids and they were adults and kids. He said it was like a field trip to the museum. Okay, traveling with a bunch of kids. Kids with a bunch of adults who were acting like kids. Now, he says, as R. Kelly's personal assistant and tour manager, I needed some additional knowledge about the business and the job I was doing. I had been working ever since I met him in 1984. Here it was 1992. And we were on our way to the top in the music industry. I was seeing a monster being created, and it wasn't his music. The hardest part was to get Robert to respect his schedule when it came to interviews and being on time for the shows and after shows. He would get there when he got there. That was the problem with R. Kelly. A lot of people complain that he was late to a lot of his shows or he wouldn't show up. People would have to get their refunds back. Like, he was just horrible. Horrible with time management and everything. He didn't care. He wasn't considerate about the promoters, his fans waiting there for him. None of that. He was like, well, they'll wait because they paid for it. No. He was very, very, very unprofessional. Very unprofessional. And this was a problem with a lot of the people that dealt with him in these arenas and stuff like that. Now, Demetrius says, there's no way my mom would have ever allowed my sisters to stay out late nights without calling all over looking for them, investigating their whereabouts and what they were doing. I often wondered who lets their 16-year-olds go and stay out all night. Now you have to remember, Tiffany's mom was a nurse. And she worked the late night shift. I believe she even had 2 jobs or something like that. And as we know, Javante and her family, as she said, she was able to be out, creeping out late night. They were runaways at times. They would just run away from home and not go home because they didn't want to go home. You know, these poor girls were taken advantage of, regardless of whatever. He hurt these girls. Manipulated them and did whatever he wanted with them until he was tired or until they got tired. One or the other. Now he says all he had to do was not record his intimate times with whoever he was spending those private moments with. Again, R. Kelly probably wouldn't be in jail right now if he didn't record his intimate times with whoever he was spending those private moments with. So it was his fault. He set up the camera. Nobody else set up the camera but him. Demetrius says, how hard could that be? Little did I know, however, that would be proven eventually to be as hard as a drug addict denying themselves of a last hit. Wow. Girl, that $200 was everything for him. And he made that in a week. Plus $25 per diem. So he would get like a $25 stipend allowance to have in the moment so he could eat. But he got paid $200 at the end of the week. So, again, Demetrius says it here. All he had to do was not record his intimate sessions, no matter who it was with. He said, how hard could that be? But little did he know that R. Kelly was that addicted, that his addiction was harder than an actual drug addict himself. So, he said, the schedule for the next few months, Andy, the schedule for the next few months was the same. And with each day, the building of a dynasty was forming. R. Kelly wanted female dancers to back him up on the stage, along with public announcement. So when R brought the request to me, I organized a female audition, a female dance audition. Mm. Now in here, he talks about a trip that they took to Amsterdam. He says, at night, we performed at nightclubs that were jam-packed with mostly women. We were constantly moving from city to city, from Amsterdam to Rotterdam to Germany to Austria. We traveled all over the Netherlands, and every night we ended up back at the hotel in Amsterdam. He says, I had often wondered if maybe Robert was going through some phase of dealing with his alter ego, struggling with himself to handle the power of having people be of service to him for a little of nothing. And with him being in control of the money, his head was outgrowing his big ears. Okay. He's like, R. Kelly's ego was getting too big for his head. It was getting too big for his ears. His head was about to explode. Give me a second.
So when you said the rebirth of the sword, that was just making up crap. Trying to buy time so I could screw you over. What? It worked before.
Now he says, I had often wondered if maybe Robert was going through some phase of dealing with his alter ego, struggling with himself to handle the power of having people be of service to him. So after a while, he started power tripping. And people were getting paid close to nothing. They were doing things for him for nothing, for little to nothing. Okay. Now, here, Demetrius talks about tapes. Okay. When he came into the room, he looked distressed. He had 3, maybe 4 VCR tapes in his hand. I didn't want to watch movies. What was wrong with him, I thought. But the more I looked at him, he wasn't flinching. He was struggling with something within himself. So R. Kelly came into him with a room with 4 tapes, VCR tapes in his hand to show him. Okay? So he's wondering, why does he have these tapes in his hand? I don't want to watch movies. What's going on? Right? Now, in this part, he says, I would go work out of Daryl McDavid's office on 12th Street and State Street. Daryl had an accounting office where he handled R. Kelly's businesses. R. Kelly now had a company of his own, which he called Bass Production. Now we even tried to create a board game we called 12 Play. Now, this is something that R. Kelly and the boys would do with the girls. They would play games. You see how Don Russell said that they would play musical chairs, and whoever it was that lost would have to go in the bedroom with R. Kelly. These kind of games R. Kelly would play and things like that. You know, like the kissing game that he played with the girls in the dressing room. Who kisses better than who? You know, let me kiss you first, and then I'll kiss you, and then you could tell me who kisses who better, and then y'all could kiss each other, and blah blah. Right. Here, Demetrius said that they even tried to create a board game. Okay. He said, we even tried to create a board game we called 12 Play. We used to have some fun times. Rod Strickland, who played for the New York Knicks at the time, used to hang out with us at Mia's house. So he said that he used to hang out. They used to hang out at Mia's house sometimes. He says, I felt these ladies kept us grounded. These were ladies with a high respect for themselves. Now, these girls, Mia, Samata, and whatever the other girl's name, these were college girls. They weren't little girls. Now, after they were married, back to Aaliyah and Rob again. After they were married, we left Rob and Aaliyah alone for a few hours. Our time was limited because we had to board the plane in order to get back to Miami in time for the show. I was angry at myself and disgusted at R. Kelly and Daryl. He says, this was crazy, and I knew right away that it was going to cause separation throughout the whole camp. Just when things were looking like a brighter day was just ahead, here came another problem. R. Kelly was just full of drama, full of problems, full of drama. Now he says, who's going to take care of her while we're out on the road, Rob? Aaliyah still got to go to school, man. I told him. I was angry. I wanted him to step back to really look at what he was talking about doing. We were an hour into our flight when the flight attendants came to serve the peanuts, coffee, and sodas. Rob got his coffee, but continued with the same look on his face as if he had lost his best friend. A lot was on his mind. And this is about Aaliyah. He's got a lot of things on his mind about Aaliyah. Then he says, Johnny, he emphasized, in order to clear up the threat he had just imposed on me, that idle threat he made drew a line for me. I was against it, but at the same time, I had mouths to feed. When he threw that line, either you're with me or against me. Now, Demetrius says, I agreed with him and I appreciated his compliment, but at the same time, I let him know that it was not Robert, but that it was his posse who were bringing the girls around. I was ready for R. Kelly to rock the house after checking on the honeybees. Now, the honeybees are R. Kelly's dancers. Drea, the other girl, China, and Lee or something like that. I forgot their names, but it was 3 girls. Andrea, his wife, is one of those girls. And R. Kelly called them the honeybees. So After checking in on the honeybees, I made it to R. Kelly to let him know things were a go because they were getting ready to perform. For that night, I went to my sister Dee Dee's home in Harvey, Illinois. It was another rare moment for me to spend some time with my daughter. At 7:30 the next morning, I met Daryl at his office. Who else do you want to go? Me, you, and Tyree, he shouted back. This is R. Kelly talking to Demetrius. Demetrius asks, who else do you want to go? He said, me, you, and Tyree, he shouted. We were going to have to finish this conversation later. What the heck's going on? I thought to myself. It's a lot more to it than you know, and I'll tell you, but right now, don't call Barry. This is the whole thing with Aaliyah when he, approached him about Aaliyah. Get us to Chicago right after the show, Johnny man. I need for you to do that, all right, man, he asked as he stepped onto the lift that was taking him up to the stage. Okay, so I read that already. That whole thing was stupid to me, but Daryl didn't want to hear any reasoning. I had a feeling there was something else going on that I was not going to be let in on. It was crazy. This is talking about the whole plan with the marriage and everything like that. He was telling him, that she ran away from home, remember? So this was the excuse. So he's like, but why is it such a big thing? Like, what's going on? So then he says, I felt only God could fix this. I kept telling myself, God can fix this. R. Kelly and I struggled a long time together. We had been through a lot together, and now I was his true partner in crime. He admitted he was his true partner in crime. You should be in jail, Demetrius Smith, for letting all this shit happen, for being an enabler, just for that alone. I just kept saying man over and over. He went on to tell me that Daryl McDavid arranged for a car to pick Aaliyah up to O'Hare Airport, and she had a hotel room available on arrival. I thought Rob and Barry were close. Calling Barry Hankerson should have been the first thing he should have wanted to do. I shouted out as R. Kelly was going up on the stage lift. Rob! Now, Jive Records was building Robert Kelly to be this tough kid, and Robert was sucking it up. His whole demeanor was changing. To be honest, I had never known Robert to ever have a fight. The boy ain't never been tough a day in his life. Robert Kelly was a good kid. But then again, in my eyesight, R. Kelly was a player. He had women. As far as the girls that hung around the studio with Robert were concerned, I didn't know their age. I felt that they were of age. Our drivers would complain about R. Kelly taking all night to board the bus so we could leave and go to the next city. Our show would end at 10:45 p.m. That's one thing he complained about, was that the after shows, R. Kelly always took long. The bus drivers would complain, listen, if he don't hurry up, we're going to leave, this, that, and the third, So I guess that's why he decided to do his own touring busing company, so that he wouldn't have to worry about that. And he could make money off of it as well as use it. So now he says he thought he laughed and joked with them, but in a lot of ways, Robert was a big kid himself. He's talking about the girls, that he would laugh and joke with the young girls. And Robert was a big kid himself. He says, I did feel like he could have them sexually if he wanted to. But then again, in my eyesight, R. Kelly was a player. What? Like, you knew he could have any girl he wanted, whether it was a woman or a girl. You knew he could have it. As long as he got it, he was good. Right. All while we were preparing for the tour, R. Kelly was in the studio with Aaliyah. She and her mom, Diane, would fly back and forth to Chicago on the weekend because Aaliyah was still in school. That night, Aaliyah and R. Kelly connected. Looking at Aaliyah as a minor and from a parent's perspective, I wanted him to know of my suspicions of R. Kelly not being the gallant, honorable man he was portraying himself to be. Aaliyah's album was R. Kelly's pet project and turning out a sound that was developing to be something really special. I worked along with Jomo Hankerson, making preparations to shoot the video for Aaliyah's first single, Back and Forth, in Chicago. Now this guy, Larry Hood, comes in. I totally understood Larry's temperament. Rob only wanted to pay him $300 a week and no per diem. When I would submit a pay scale to Rob showing the estimated cost of their tour, along with an estimated payroll summary. So these are the things that he would do to prove to R. Kelly, look, this is what I did, this is how much I made. This is what I should get paid. Now he continues to say all of the lights in the booth had been off. She got that from R. Kelly. She wanted to be as free as he was when it came to perfecting her art in music. Now he's saying here that Aaliyah, when he would go into the studio, Aaliyah would have all the lights off in the booth, and that she had got that from R. Kelly. And she wanted to be as free as he was when it came to perfecting her art in music. Sick. Just sick. As far as the girls who hung around, it was apparent their parents didn't have a problem with them being out in the late hours of the night. The girls came and went as they pleased. I read that already too. That night around 2:00 in the morning, R. Kelly finally came to the basement where we slept and woke me up. He said that he wanted to talk about the song that he had in mind for Aaliyah. We arrived early that day. R. Kelly didn't feel we needed to stay the whole weekend. His intent was to synchronize her vocals to his tracks. But once we were there, we ended up staying over a few extra nights at Aaliyah's home with her parents. Okay, let me see something. Give me a second, guys. All right, give me a moment. Okay, I'm back, guys. Sorry about that. I had to use the restroom. I wonder if he called him daddy. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? So now he's talking about the tour buses and stuff, right? He says it was dangerous for all of us. And the more I talked to Rob about it, the longer it seemed he took to get on the bus. He wanted me and everybody else, for that matter, to know that he was in charge. He was fighting against me, and I did not know why. I was there with his best interest at heart. Because he was always, after his shows, he would do the meet and greets and would take forever. And the bus drivers would be like, yo, we got to go. What's going on? Like, come on. This is unprofessional. A lot of other artists don't do those things. They just do their shows, go to the dressing rooms, pack up, whatever, and leave. They don't do all this meet and greet and stuff. Now, he's talking about Aaliyah again. He says that for this video shoot, I was on Aaliyah's payroll, making $800 for the entire day. I was also being highly considered to be her tour manager. Things were going to balance out. I was happy with the thought of working on the road as Aaliyah's tour manager too. So they were having plans on making him her tour manager, but that didn't fall through. He says, I never saw him messing with those girls. He laughed and joked with them, but in a lot of ways, Rob was a big kid himself. I mean, I did feel like he could have them sexually if he wanted to. I read that already too. I told Mike, man, Robert is unbelievable with his music. He creates it all the time. It's who he is. It's what he does. I said that in hopes of Mike feeling comfortable in stepping in to pull Aaliyah out. Mike was another manager, another producer, Jive, or whoever it was. He says there was to be no personal interviews and no meetings with anyone for them. R. Kelly did not want any of us who traveled with him to talk to the girls. They were R. Kelly's girls, so it was hands off. Then he says, boy, you better get your act right. What's wrong with you, Robert? Don't you be acting like you can't do nothing for nobody. Boy, you better go get me a drink. You still Robert. Don't you forget that, babe. Now, some girl, the girl Mia, one of the girls, Mia Samata, one of those girls, was at the club, whatever, with him, and she wanted a drink. So she asked Rob for the drink. And he's like, bitch, what? I ain't getting you shit. So that's why she was like, boy, you better act right. What's wrong with you, Robert? Don't be acting like you can't do nothing for nobody. Boy, you better get me a drink. You know, because he felt like, why do I have to get you a drink? You should be getting me a drink. So she reacted the way she reacted with him. This was at a club. So then he says, he talks, this was my first time in Memphis. We visited the site where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. We also hit the malls and did the usual. So he would always, no matter where he went, R. Kelly must always stop at a mall. And he always did his usual. Greeted the fans and went shopping. Gave out phone numbers. And that's what he did. Now he says, I received and sent out all the information needed for the Salt and Pepper tour. I was looking forward to this tour, traveling with these lovely ladies. I love me some Cheryl James, Miss Salt. She was the special one that caught my eye from the very first time I saw the group. Now, R. Kelly had a way of bringing the best out of a person. He was a young genius, and Aaliyah was a happy spirit when she was in the studio with Robert. She used to sing in the dark. Listen to what he says here. This was disturbing for me. He said, the little young fast girls that had been hanging around R. Kelly at his apartment, Tia, Shay, and a few others, were singing in the background for Robert on Aaliyah's tracks. Most people thought R. Kelly had something other than music going on with these kids. And I myself had wondered. Now he's talking about Javante, Tia, and Ebony, the girl Shay, and all these other girls that would be around R. Kelly in the studios. And most people thought R. Kelly had something other than music going on with these kids. I would ride around with Robert, waiting in the car, getting mad at him on some occasions for having me sit in the car for periods of time while he entertained the beautiful women he had in his life. So Demetrius is saying that whenever R. Kelly would have some guests and stuff like that or whatever, he would have people waiting in the car for him while he goes and has sex and then comes back. Or he tells them, okay, you can leave the car and meet me in the house now. Like, what? This would be annoying for me. I would not appreciate this either if I worked for him. Now, Barry Hankerson negotiated a deal with Jive Records that allowed R. Kelly to produce an album for Aaliyah. Robert took writing songs for Aaliyah seriously. He asked me what I thought of a woman singing the song At Your Best by the Isley Brothers. It's a beautiful song, I told him. The spiritual side of him was subconsciously hindered. He was very remorseful over the song. Strange as it may sound, R. Kelly felt the song was sinful. During this time, his mother was sick, so Rob was going through some things and maybe he was looking for an escape of some sort. I don't know. Remember when I told you he was feeling weird about releasing the song Sex Me? This is what he's talking about. He felt remorseful over the song. Now I'm saying to myself, as I was reading this, I'm like, so was the song Sex Me about Aaliyah? What? Is this why he was feeling remorseful about the song? We need to get the lyrics to this song. Let me see something real quick. Let me see here. Okay. So he has Sex Me Part 1 and Part 2? What? Okay. All right. Well, let's see. Let's see if this is the lyrics. Wait. Okay, so I'm gonna give me a second. Wait, I'm trying to see if the lyrics come up on the screen. Nope, this don't have no lyrics. Go back. Okay. Okay. I got the song with the lyrics. Okay. Let's see here. Let me stop sharing that a second. Let's see what the lyrics say. Let's see what the lyrics say. Okay, so his words, it says, "Ooh, sex me, baby. Yeah, baby, sex me, lady. Come on, come on, come on." Okay. I don't want to play the music because I don't want to get striked. Okay, so then he says, sex me, baby, baby, sex me, sex me, sex me, baby." Okay. All right. Let's see what the next words say. There's a long chorus here. He says, "Ah, baby, oh shit, yeah, one play, first chapter." He says, "Come over here and let me take off your clothes. Things I want to do to you, nobody has to know. No. Baby, just lay your body right here. Lady, have no fear, because ecstasy is near." Oh, God. Mm, mm, mm. Damn, he said, "Things I want to do to you, nobody has to know." Now he says, "Any unexpected positions, bring it on. Any secret fantasies, baby, I'll fulfill as long as you sex me." Oh, God. Okay, then it goes back to the sex me chorus. Okay. Then he says, "Now that I've given you one play, are you ready for the second verse?" He says, "Now let me feel your body next to mine. 'Cause girl, I want to see you sweat. Oh, you're so very wet. Baby, now put me inside of you. Do what you want to do. Huh? 'Cause you got a need for me and I got a need for you." Oh my God. Mm. He's sick. Let's see. All right. Anything unexpected positions, baby, bring it on. Any secret fantasies you see, I will fulfill as long as you sex me. Oh my God. I just, okay, then he goes back to the sex me chorus. Let's see. What's the next verse? Come on, hurry up. Okay, let's see. Next verse says, let me kiss you in the right place so I can see sex me. Baby, written on your face, slow, baby, slow, baby, steady as we go, up and down to a 69 tempo. Yeah, now your body parts around and let me hear you make that ooh ah sound. 'Cause I'm your lover man, huh? So call your other man and say you found another man. Hmm. Okay, here he just says, sex me, sex me, sex me. He says, woo me, sex me, thrill me, sex me. See, his songs are not really all that. If you really look and break down the lyrics, like, really? No. Seriously. It's not. It's really not all that. Really not all that. Mm-mm-mm. So now he says, much as I wanted to, I couldn't come right out and tell anyone of my suspicions. What if I was wrong? I never saw what went on behind closed doors. R. Kelly was my boy, and there was no telling how Mike or Barry would react if he found out Robert was possibly sleeping with his teenage daughter. Okay, so when he spoke about Mike in here, he was talking about Aaliyah's father. As I listened to Tia and Shay sing, I was totally surprised. Tia had a voice with quality and strength like Whitney Houston. R. Kelly saw things in people that others didn't. I never saw him messing with those girls. I was always on them about the girls they were choosing for him. They just always seemed to be real young, and there were always beautiful, mature women that wanted to get with Rob. Now, he's talking about how he would complain to his entourage and his security. And he would tell them, listen, stop picking these younger girls. Stop doing that. Now he says, I needed this time with Robert to try and bring him back to reality from dealing with them young girls. Things were beginning to get wild and reckless. On our first tour, my pay went up to $400 per week plus $25 a day per diem. Still, I was underpaid. Barry's excuse was that I did not have the experience of a tour manager to receive more money, and I still had to prove myself. He wound up going back to school, he said, to get these degrees or whatever to work as a manager. Now, Rob had a phobia about flying, so it wasn't easy getting him to board the plane that night. But Bruce helped to convince him by keeping us laughing with his yo mama jokes. I hadn't lost my desire to perform, And I still had it in my mind that once Robert's Born into the 90s album had reached its peak, then I felt Robert would then put me in the studio and produce me as his first recording artist. Now, this is Carrie Kelly speaking to Demetrius Smith about getting on with his brother, as a rapper. Now, Robert knew the Bible and he felt as if he was being pulled in the direction of evil. He told me he was so active with the ladies and only for the reason to tape their actions. He was so addicted to recording and making porn that it didn't care who he did it with. After a while, he was just doing it to do it all the time. He was addicted to making his own porn. I could not imagine what was so bad on those tapes. But for Robert to be hurting over them, I gave him my full attention. Robert was crying over this something. I had no choice but to take him serious. This something, as he called it, had him feeling he was addicted to recording the women he was sexing in his life. My first impression when meeting Aaliyah and her family was that of a close family. I felt the genuine goodness in meeting her mother, Miss Diana Houghton, her father, Michael Houghton, and Aaliyah's older brother, Rashad Houghton. The director of A&R for Jive Records in Chicago, Mr. Get Up and Go Get It Done Wayne Williams, hooked it up for us to hold the audition at the Comfort Zone, a club on the west side of Chicago. The word was out. This was the audition for the dancers where the honeybees became the honeybees. They became the honeybees because of this dance audition that Demetrius Smith put together. And they wound up doing it where Wayne Williams worked in a club on the west side of Chicago. Now they go back to talking about Amsterdam. Amsterdam skies were blue, but the air had the smell of a woman, making the skies seem like they should have been pink. Robert immediately suggested finding a shopping mall. Amsterdam was nothing like the United States. I found the shopping area not far from our hotel. After me and the others in the group convinced Rick to cut his hair, we knew we had total control of public announcements, functions, before and after shows. Robert wanted to be the one all the ladies wanted, and he made sure that we knew that the only reason a woman wanted to be with us was because we were with him. See how big his head was? What's up, Just Be? Hi, Mama. You see how big his head was? Then he says, it took 7 years to get him here from the first day he and I met at the Kenwood Academy High School talent show. Oh, how far we had come. It was like a Cinderella night every night. So Demetrius Smith was starting to feel like Cinderella every night. Now he says, I'm talking about Tiffany Hawkins, who was called Tia. And then there was Javante, Shay, and Rhonda. Now, these young girls had talent. Tia had vocal range and a sound like Whitney Houston. Shay and Rhonda had her back, nailing the background vocals. So here, Demetrius mentions Javante and Tiffany, as well as Shay and Rhonda, whoever these other two girls were. They were friends of Tiffany and Javante's and Aaliyah's. They were all friends. It was a little posse. Chapter 2. He was under a lot of stress about that song. Spiritually, he felt that song was too vulgar, and he didn't think his mom would approve of that song at all. Can you believe it? R. Kelly felt as though the song was too sexual. Talking about the song Sex Me. I tell you, this guy was a genius when it came to the God-given gift and talent with music he had. The young girls who were hanging around, they all had a purpose in Robert's music. Her mother, Diane, and her father, Mike, were the perfect host, accommodating our every need, which was only to have Aaliyah available for R. Kelly to work alone with her. You see how R. Kelly had Demetrius try to groom the parents to convince them that it was okay to be alone with her. See that bullshit? Just read. What's up, baby? Hi, mama. You know what? I think you might be right, Just V. Who knows? There were two sides to Robert. There was Robert Kelly, who was caring, playful, and studious when he would listen. Now, Larry, as we all know, Larry Hood, was R. Kelly's personal friend who started out with us. He was who I thought had earned the position, and he would have been the help needed to take this to a Barbra Streisand, Rod Stewart level in music. Johnny, what's wrong with him, man? He would ask me. We were there for him when he was struggling to have a place to live and clothes on his back. And now he don't want to give me enough to make up for the pay I make at my job, at my little job. He would say to me with anger and frustration in his voice, why he want to do us like this, Johnny? Johnny, man, we're supposed to be smoother than the way things are going. He used to tell me when I would constantly call on him to get R. Kelly out and onto the bus. In addition to the concern with the girls, he felt like there was a lack of control when it came to dealing with Rob. So Larry decided he couldn't afford to go on this tour. So Larry Hood already knew that he had issues with girls, and he was not feeling it. It was always 10 p.m. when Aaliyah would be summoned to the studio, accompanied by her mother, of course. It was all work in the studio with R. Kelly, Aaliyah, Tia, Shay, and Shauna. It was always amazing watching Robert work. As a matter of fact, he insisted they stay at his place, and he in turn would stay at the Best Western Hotel. But Aaliyah's mom, she was not with Robert putting himself out, so they all stayed together at his place. See, so now when Lisa Van Allen was speaking about how Aaliyah slept with R. Kelly and R. Kelly's slept with Aaliyah's mother at the same time, this, I think, is where it happened. In his home, when he had them stay there at his home. He would probably do Aaliyah in the bedroom or in the living room, and he would do the mom in the living room or in the bedroom and switch, or however it was. He was going in to have sex with Aaliyah, then making sure she go to sleep, and then go have sex with her mother. And they were both living in his house at the time. In the beginning, Aaliyah's mom chaperoned her when she came to the studio. But because of the long hours in the studio, she would get tired. And because Robert was so cunning, she trusted him with her daughter. He says, I rented 2 buses The one bus was for R. Kelly and public announcement, the Honeybees, and Robert's personal security. I rode on the other bus along with the band and crew members. Larry would look at me out of the top or from the side of his glasses and tell me, man, now you know I'm going to have to sit him down on this, man, because you know I can't get into nothing like that. He was observing how things had grown since the last time he had traveled along with us. One would wonder if I had a family or life of my own, since all of my time was spent preparing for the next tour and assisting R. Kelly and Aaliyah. His status grew as much I was working 24/7, keeping busy with R. Kelly's career events. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it here, and we're going to make this a part 2. Yeah, I'm going to leave it here, and I'm going to make this a part 2, y'all. All right, so guys, please do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out. All right, don't forget, guys, hit that like button, please. Thank you. And for those who are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. And make sure you put the notification bell on all. All right, and for those who are on the replay, please make sure you leave your comments and let me know what you think about Demetrius's little quotes from his book. All right. And your girl, Diva Divine Light, is out. Peace.
You are watching Diva Divine Light.
You can fuck with me if these red bottoms, these bloody shoes. Hit the scoop, I can get them both. I don't want to choose, and I'm quick. Cut every nigga off, so don't get comfortable. Look, I don't dance now, I make money move. Now I gotta dance, I make money move. If I see you now, that means I don't fuck with you. I'm a boss, you a worker, bitch. I make bloody move. Now she say, gon' do what a hoop. Let's find out if you Cardi B. You know where I'm at, you know where I be. Just a party, I'm there, I can play. I be in and out the game so much, I know they tired of me. Honest.